So what according to you is actually plant breeding? Well, I may tell you, it is just the manipulation of crops. Like the manipulation we did in animals husbandry, it's very similar to it, right? So it's the manipulation of crops to produce better suitable disease resistant and high yielding progeny. Yes. So plant breeding can be defined as it is the manipulation of crops to produce a better suitable disease resistant and high yielding progeny, right? So if you can note down, you can write down that plant breeding actually started, well, this is just for your knowledge, nobody will ask you this, 9,000 to 11,000 years ago, and even the plant breeding that was done in the ancient times has still its results in present day. So in a way, we can thank our ancestors too. So there are 5 main processes that come under plant breeding. Okay, there are 5 main. I'm writing this down so that you don't forget any of the processes. There are 5 main processes that come under plant breeding. The first one is collection of variability. So what do we understand by collection of variability? Well, this is the collection of all varieties of genes and even the relatives of the given crop. You can even write down that the collection of all genes all alleles of all genes is known as germ plasm collection. So yes, this is a very important point. So if somebody asks you what is germ plasm collection, you can tell him that it's the collection of all alleles of all genes of the given crop. Okay? So this is known as germ plasm collection. So this was all under collection of variability, that we have to collect all the varieties of all genes and even the relatives of the given crop. So basically all we are doing is collecting the variety, collecting all its genes, collecting all its species. So the next process that comes under plant breeding is, that comes after actually collection of germplasm or collection of variability, is selection or evaluation of parents. Now that you know that I've collected all the variabilities and all the genes and all the alleles of the given crop, you need to know who the parents would be, right? So in this process, we select parents, right? And these parents should be having those three properties that we talked of when I was explaining you what plant breeding was. And those three properties are disease resistant, the parent should be disease resistant, should have high yielding property, and should be better suited in various conditions, better suited in various conditions. So this is how we select the parents, alright. After we select the parents, these parents are multiplied and sent to the process of cross hybridization that we'll study after this. And in some cases, these are even sent for making pure lines. So after the selection and evaluation of parents, the third process is cross hybridization. In cross hybridization, all we do is we produce a cross hybrid in which actually the parents are go under cross hybridization, and this process often becomes very tiring and tedious. The reason is pollens of the male have to fertilize with the egg, right? Fertilize with the egg. So these are put on the stigma of the flower of the flower for fertilization, because obviously you cannot predict the processes. That's why this becomes a very tedious and tiring process. Now we've read about the 3 points that are under plant breeding. Now the 4th point that is under plant breeding is selection and testing of the superior recombinants. So this is the 4th process, that is the selection and testing of the superior recombinants. Of all the progeny that is produced from the cross hybridization process, we have to choose a superior recombinant, right? So the superior recombinants that are chosen usually go under homozygosity. Means these are usually self-pollinated. So these are usually self-pollinated, which means they go under homozygosity to produce a pure line. By this, the superior genes are not lost during segregation. Yes. So selection and testing of superior recombinants. In selection and testing of superior recombinants, the superior recombinants are self-pollinated and undergo homozygosity, which leads to the making of a pure line, right? So by this, the superior genes are not lost during the process of segregation. But this is a very important process, you should know. Now the fifth and the last process that comes under plant breeding is testing, release, and commercialization of the cultivars. Well, people are often confused between the words cultivators and cultivars. I may tell you there's a very basic difference between it. The people who cultivate the crops are known as cultivators, whereas the crops that are cultivated are known as cultivars. I hope you'll remember this point next time, whenever somebody asks you what's the difference between cultivars and cultivators. Yes, so in this very process, this process is known as testing, release and commercialization of the cultivars. So in this process, many crop management methods are used. So you obviously have to check, right? Whatever cultivars are producing would be having a good yield or not, would be disease resistant or not, would be better suited for the conditions or not. That is why we use these processes. So first to check, we have to have crop management methods which are used. One of these methods are irrigation, because obviously this crop was actually produced in a laboratory. How do you know that it would be able to, withstand the normal crop management methods that are used on crops that are normally grown, right? So first method that they use is irrigation to check the crop, and the other method is they use fertilizers, because obviously the crop should be well suited to fertilizers as well. When we talk of better suited, it's not just the weather, it has to it should fit in. It should even have it even includes the effect of fertilizers on the crops. So these are the crop management methods that are used. Well, these come under the testing. And one more thing, that these crops are grown for 3 seasons. In different parts of India. This process is to check whether it's well suited for different climates, right, different weather, and if all these processes are right, it is just get to go, ready to go, good to go. Yeah. So we learned about 5 main processes, yes, under plant breeding. So let's just recall our 5 main processes. The first process that I told you was collection of variability. Second is selection and evaluation of parents selection and testing. The third process was cross hybridization, yes. Fourth process is, yes, selection and testing of superior recombinants. And the fifth and the last one is testing, release and commercialization of cultivars, right? So these are the 5 main processes which we just talked of that come under plant breeding: collection of variability, selection and evaluation of parents, cross hybridization, selection and testing of superior recombinants, and testing, release and commercialization of cultivars. Under collection of variability, we talked of the collection of the germplasm of all the genes and all the alleles of the given crop. Here we talked of the selection and evaluation of parents, right? Here we talked about under cross hybridization, we talked about how the pollens are put on the stigma of the flower, and then they are used and then they are waited for fertilization. And the fourth process, we have to check our superior recombinants. We have to see if they have the 3 properties that we are looking for in a recombinant, and then they undergo, of course, homozygosity to produce pure lines. And the 5th process was testing, release and commercialization of cultivars, where we have to check our cultivars, we have to check our crops if they are good to go or not.